Hi, welcome. This is Judy Faust. My partner, Cathie Bomba, wasn't feeling well today, but she'll be back next month, ready to shine. Today, this is the week of Valentine's Day, and so thus the red. And I have a bunch of poems that I selected, there's so many of them, that have to do with love, mostly love affairs of different types, different things learned, and 2 birthday poems, because my birthday was February 5th. So one was written when I was in my 40s, and the other one 10 years later. I haven't caught up to myself after that. And I'm not going to tell you how old I am. All right. This poem is called Salsa Dance Lesson. Dance, dance, not like this, not a frightened, feeble frame. Dance, shake it down, rock every fiber, rattle every fiber. Dance! You ballroom dancers, he looked straight at me. He threw back his jaguar head and his white teeth flashed neon. Shake it down, he chanted, and his shoulders and torso muscles rippled like a tsunami wave, flinging off a surfer. 40-something years old on Friday. You are still young, said an 80-year-old smiling. Age is attitude, advised a 17-year-old. What are you going to be when you grow up? Asked a child yesterday. Tomorrow, I will strain my eyes as I explore the foggy future, or try to remember the landmarks of my youth. I will hear the crumpled letters I never sent, scraping against my conscience. I will listen to insurance companies promising me security in old age. I will dance! The music cracks my comfort zone, the shell of childhood breaking, crushed beneath my wild feet. In my head, I hear my mother, too much wiggling. You'll ruin it all. Control, control. But the salsa dancer from Costa Rica waves and undulates like palm trees in a hurricane. We're all chanting now, a class of waving arms, feverish flesh. Like the virgin diver, I left the shore and became the tsunami. In the mirror, I am shining, ageless. Even my dance partner's eyes twinkled with liberation the moment I became free. All right, now let's on to the love affairs. This one's called Foggy Business. It's always foggy business in love affairs. To own one's hopes or to absorb love's surprise. To grope through the mysterious mist where flesh and spirit seem to have kissed. Where tears rain down after love's demise. After the sun burns off the cloud. After all my never-agains have been avowed, I still look back with puzzled pride and wonder what went on inside. I bet that never happened to you. All right, the next one is a little fling I had on this dude, and it's called A Done Deal. He surrounds me with chaotic humor and engaging questions. His sleepy eyes betray his observance of me. He listens as if my words were my last. He delays my leaving with his long jokes. He stands like a lion, a mane of gray and white streaming down rebelliously to his shoulders from a glossy bald crown. A beard streaked with black and pearl gray frame, thick, sensuous lips spread into a crafty smile. Small brown eyes clouded in thought one moment, emit sparkles of laughter the next. Thin arches of flamboyant eyebrows accent his punchlines. A nose curved like a hawk, fleshy, warm hands that greet me, startling me with delight. Your friends call nonstop. Your ex-girlfriend traded in her sanity and self-respect to keep you from others. Your mother jealously guards you, and I come along sighing for a chance to hold you. This wasn't planned, never plotted. We met at my yard sale. Such a deal. But the cost was dear. Look at us, dickering for our stance like we did for my slide projector. Check out its value, no guarantees. You have one already, but you can't resist. Your van and your den and my storage bin are packed with cartons of souvenirs. Did we ever find what we needed? The lion gazes at me slyly. He can feign, but he knows we are lovers already in thought. Now, the next one is one of those moments when love scares you. It's called lightning. The night before he left, the temperature shifted from summer heat to thunderstorm. He went outside to shut his car windows. I strained to observe the black sky through my apartment window. When lightning blinked, a circle of clouds appeared. Thunder mumbled, moaned, softly crackled. I started to wonder, what is keeping him out there so long? Opening the front door, I saw him dodging the first raindrops, lightning following his heels. You gotta come out here and sit in the gazebo. I stood in the threshold of the front door, watching him turn back and run to the screened-in structure. Reluctantly, I stepped into the rain, watching the dark sky and recalling how a teacher, Melissa, she once became a lightning rod in her former life of freedom. Once inside the screen door, the ashtray smell of cigarette butts from community smokers abruptly cut the fresh air. But my friend didn't care. He had already settled into a chair. At first, I could barely see him. Crash! Crash! Black sky, then shocking white. His face lit up, his indigo eyes sparkling delight, beaming a grin wide as the clouds. I stood before him, breathless, wanting to embrace him. Instead, I turned away, nervously blabbering about a long-forgotten lover in a New Hampshire thunderstorm. I could not look at him. I rushed back to my apartment, to my dishes and duties, back to my rolled-up heart. Thunder boomed. The beauty of the night offered itself to one willing witness. He was out there by himself. I don't know what he was feeling. I dared not ask. Later he wondered, why didn't I stay? Afraid of lightning was all I could mutter. Well, this one I wrote a long time ago when I was in art school, having kind of a bad day. And I had a friend named James. It's called Visiting James on Danforth Street. I remember coming to visit James on Danforth Street in Portland, Maine. I came as a weary soldier straight from art school on a freezing winter day in 1977. My confidence was tattered and bits of plaster stuck to my jeans. The art jury made their decrees and opinions, and I came to James hoping for salvation. The old stone building where he camped was grand. On the first floor, 19th century embellishments carved into door and ceiling moldings, accented giant windows proclaiming wealth from another time. I peeked beyond a heavy door to admire the oak floor where Grace Carlton DeRoss, 86 years old, a former silent movie star, taught the elements of dance to anyone interested in liberation, and she never charged a dime. I climbed the spiral staircase leading to a door to James's unfinished suite at the top floor. In his wall-less attic, my Zen-like friend was living in the now. James's goal was to achieve point zero, to declare a spiritual victory over his suburban upbringing, and to somehow find peace with America's materialistic, baseless life. Dashing James, a tall, elegant, intelligent enigma with his taste for culture, Camel cigarettes, garlic, cabbage salads, women, and bottles of fine wine. In between studs holding up an ancient roof, strong sage tea wafted, and the richness of James's deep bass voice welcomed me into his barren space. The cold blue light of winter from a huge glass window illuminated his figure, swaying over a baby grand piano, his noble head bowed to gesture me a welcome, while his long fingers danced on the piano keys, playing Gymnopédie by Eric Satie. My shivering body stood still, mesmerized by the union of Satie's waltz with the magic of James. I dared not breathe to miss the beat. The last chord faded to silence when James graciously asked, "Would you like some tea?" Sage tea, of course, unlike my coffee and black tea habit that kept my mind racing. He stood up with open arms and greeted me with a hug, like the Dalai Lama welcoming a devotee. "Come to my kitchen," he says with a touch of sarcasm, and walks over to a space where the wall would one day be. Couched on the wood are one burner, one pot of water, and two earthy mugs. As he slowly poured the tea, I took in the comforting sound that invited me to the scented cup. I sipped the tea, inhaling herbal gardens. After tea, James, whom I called the Runaway Monk, sat patiently listening to me complain about the confusing judgments from art school. I spilled out my angst, enjoying the drama. They said I was too much of an artist and not enough of a student. And then I heard them say to the next victim, "You're too much of a student and not enough of an artist." Yeah, they looked at my drawing assignments that I toiled over all semester, then declared that they were drawn in haste. They praised my alabaster stone sculpture that they assumed was slowly and thoughtfully done, when unbeknownst to them, it was a result of an accident that I made work in the very last moment before it was due. When I finished my rant, its power faded, and in its place was James's wide grin. His eyes sparkled in the afternoon light. "So, what did they take from you today?" he asked, tasting the honey in the tea, warming my hands around the mug. I entered glorious point zero. Nothing. Nothing, I laughed. Nothing at all. You can learn a lot from people, can't you? And you can learn a lot from time. Time does heal a lot of things. I revisited a boyfriend a decade after we broke up, just because. I stood on the white metal fire escape stairs that led up to my old apartment right on the University of Tampa campus. New high-rise dorms loomed over the nearby parking lot, but the citrus and palm trees remained in their decorative poses for a decade. Their Spanish moss embellishments hung from their arms like Cuban ladies with silver bracelets. and the shadows waved like black lace in Florida's balmy evening. 30-story buildings of the Tampa skyline dwarfed and surrounded the eerie orange-lit minarets of the Henry Plant Museum, founder of the University of Tampa. Henry was enthralled by Moor's art and antiques and traveled all over the world, another romantic collector at the turn of the century, trying to bring it all home. The stairs had that same lonely sound of metal against the hard soles of my shoes that I recalled when I turned to say goodbye to Tom, the writer from St. Petersburg. How my heart broke halfway down the stairway when I told him I would not marry him. My mind was deeply involved in the extracurricular studies of Ralph at the time, where evening was an eternity of longing and lingering, where his manly perfume absorbed into my dress, lips, and hair. He made us wait for months to consummate our passion. Night after night, I sunk into my wicker couch, hours after he left, collecting the fleeting aromas of new love, writing poem after poem, trying to capture Ralph and time itself. I expounded on his rose-colored lips, on his startling aqua eyes against his tanned, smooth skin. I wrote about his brown, silvery silk hair that I loved to rustle, about his musical voice purring in my ear. He lured me away from my studies to his apartment just a few blocks away. Slipping our hands into each other's, we fell like Alice into the looking glass. Downright delightful, but too far from home. After 3 years of courtship and cursing, I returned up to New England with only my poems and my photographs to remember him. But he followed me. First came the friendly phone call that I regretfully admit I made, followed by another doomed marriage proposal. 4 months later, in a rented condo in New Hampshire, we couldn't even make breakfast without a war. His emotions were volatile. We both had no patience and no skills to cope. Nature designed only our bodies to fit together. When we said goodbye, I saw the gift of love in his eyes, but neither of us knew how to live it. We parted with relief, anger, and tragedy. But tonight, 10 years later, I returned to Florida for a visit with him, to again inhale the scent of passion, to see if our chemistry was still there. After a nervous hello, he and I went to the Latin Quarter. We leaned close to each other's faces in the swirling pink flamingo smoke of a jazz club, comparing the journeys of a decade. He did not look so different. His silver hair swept now off his forehead, but a few stubborn strands fell forward like the tousled locks of a child. His gaze still twinkled with fascination, reserved just for me, and holding hands was electric and as sweet as before. We strolled down West Shore Boulevard, where we used to walk after an evening meal. The moon is waxing, he said, and I looked beyond the concrete railing to see the white pieces of a spent candle floating on the backwater of the evening ocean. And then 2 young roller skaters sped past us. We watched them skating in perfect sync for a time. Now his stride is too large, so he compensates, Ralph mused. And now she pulls him her way, I tugged on his sleeve. No, over here my way, Ralph laughed, pulling me towards him, and I fell off balance. The skaters faltered and weaved, first too close, then too far apart. They lost their balance but quickly recovered. Now they are balanced, cried Ralph. He squeezed my hand, and the couple vanished into the distant horizon. We kissed in headlights passing. We kissed in the streetlights. We kissed as the moon rose, warning of worlds to face miles away. We knew we'd say goodbye for good, a treasure regained and newly lost. Tomorrow morning, a plane would lift me into a clouded sky and plant me back in Maine. But something was resolved. The miles between us had dissolved. And once again, I realized that the only barrier that separates any of us is ignorance. And the only mode that unites us is love. I'm glad we learned something after all of that. Oh my God, George, I'm already on my last poem. This one's called, I told you I had a birthday poem at the end, right? This one's called Not Yet 50. I did not write this last week, I must admit. Okay, not yet 50. Call it another 40-something birthday. Friends will inspect me for telltale lines, as if the face were a map. I inspect the mirror for accuracy. Utilizing art skills and makeup tools, I subscribe to the lie of the eye. And I dye my hair the same color it was when I was 5. I consume only fat-free, politically correct, free-range, organic food. True, I have refused to go to the gym. True, I can't talk on the phone without wearing lipstick. But no, sir, I am not the map. I am the free spirit who once fled to Maine from self-conscious Connecticut, living in a teepee by day and prowling at night, hunting for men to feed my libido. These days I meditate with aging hippies in Portland. But 50? Not yet. Not willing to be a crone, yet no longer the image of youth. I'll be too poor to retire. Anyway, I don't need an age. There is chronological age. That's unimportant. There is mental age. May I always feel the wonder of a 6-year-old. And there is no age, only the soul, who marks the years, not in numbers, but in lessons, measuring the remaining surrender it has to go to merge with God. So, you can put a question mark on my birthday cake. And I hope that hasn't changed. So, thank you again for tuning in to our poetry show. I'd love to hear your opinions, your feedback. You can tell us how you feel on the website, on the YouTube link, or you can email me at judy@connectyourstories.com. We want to thank Patrick Snow and ActonTV for helping us produce this. We will see Cathie with us in March, when once again we will tackle the themes of that month that occur to us. Any subjects that you'd like us to cover, any suggestions at all about our delivery of this, we welcome, because we're just going to get better and better as we go along, hopefully. So take care, and we'll see you in March.